I'm going to show how to make this cloud pattern using Affinity Photo's Procedural Texture Filter. Start with a blank 1024 by 1024 document. I'm going to fill it with black. I'm going to go ahead and add a live procedural texture, and I'm going to start with a coordinate vector. I'll use A as a scaling factor for that. I'll add an equation for it and assign it to all three channels. I'm going to start out with variable v equals vec2 of rx comma ry times A divided by the width of the document, which is a system variable w. It looks like that. When I show V, it shows this red, green, and yellow pattern that represents the coordinate system for this. In order to make the cloud pattern, I'm going to use Perlin noise, and I like perlincubic. It's just a little bit smoother than the other Perlin noise functions. I'm going to use my coordinate vector as an input to this. The next input is an octaves value that tells you how many layers of noise you have. For this one, I'm going to just set it at 11. I don't need to have a custom input for that. I'll just set it to a large value, which is 11 layers of noise. For each layer of noise, the frequency doubles and the amplitude is half as big in Perlin noise. I'll use variable S for the smoothness factor, which I need to add down here as a 0 to 1 slider. I'll call that S. I'll call it smooth, and I'll move the slider down so you can see it already has a nice cloudy look to it. Already starting to look pretty good and cloudy. Next thing I'm going to do is to add a color vector for it. And so to do that, I'm going to add 3 0 to 1 sliders. To use this, I'm going to set up a variable as a 3-element vector that has the R1, G1, and B1 values as inputs. So I'll start with the variable. I'll call it C1 for color 1. I'll set that equal to vec3, and then I'll have R1, G1, and B1 as the inputs to that. And I'm going to multiply my perlincubic by that vector. And that will apply this where it's black. I'll have basically these will all be multiplied by 0. Where it's white, they'll be multiplied by 1. So whatever color I have coming into this will be adjusted by those values. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by C1. And now if I bring one of these down, you can see I can change the color. The color for this I want mostly white, but just a hint of yellow maybe would look good. Okay, now I want to make the other areas sort of a blue sky area. So I'm going to add a second color vector, and I'll add my 3 inputs for that one. I'll call this color 2, and so I'll use R2, G2, and B2. I'm going to copy this vector and paste it right here, and then I can just change this to a 2 and each of these others to a 2, and that will give me my second color. That's what it looks like so far. To use the second color, I'm going to change this a little bit. First thing I'm going to do, instead of just having my perlincubic as a function, I'm going to make it into a variable. Use var, I'll call it t1 equals perlincubic as it is. To use this, I'm going to have C1 times T1, and then I'm going to add on C2 times 1 minus T1, like that. And then if I bring these down, I have a blue sky with white clouds, which is what I want. Bring these up a little bit, so my sky will be a little bit more sky colored. Now I would like to be able to have large patches of blue sky in here, and now most of the sky is sort of uniform all the way across this. So a function that can be useful to do that, one of the things about Perlin noise is it tends to go above 1 and below 0, so it doesn't stay between 1 and 0. But I'd also like to be able to, I could control the places that are blue with a step function. The type of step function I'm going to use is a smooth step function. So I'll use smooth step. And this one I'm going to have two inputs, E1 and E2, for two different edges. The first edge will tell me where the numeric value will be black, and then it will smoothly transition to the second edge where it will be completely white. So the smooth step will sort of limit the perlincubic between 0 and 1, where the first edge is going to say where the 0 starts, and it'll be 0 below that value, and then the second edge, anything above that value, will be 1. I need to add another parentheses over here, and I need to add two edges, 0 to 1. Call this one E1, this one E2, and this is edge 1, and this one is edge 2. I'm going to bring this one all the way down, and then I can control the amount of the blue sky here. Like that. One last thing I can do is, this gives me some control over the amount of clouds, but I'd like to have more control over that. I can get that by adding an offset in here into the perlincubic before I take the smooth step function of it. So I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to add a scaling factor for my Perlin noise. So for the scaling factor, I'll call that I, and I'll just call it fade. And then for the offset, I'll call it OF, and I'll label that offset. I'm going to multiply my perlincubic by I and add the offset value, like that. Okay, so now I can have more clouds or fewer clouds, and I can have, if I bring this down and then bring this up, I can decrease the range of these, so they're very just fine wispy clouds. Like that. So it gives me quite a bit of control over the clouds. Now I can add a second layer to this. So let's say I have some sort of wispy clouds in the background. I want another layer of them. I could save this as clouds. I already have another copy of this saved. So I'm going to just add a procedural texture and then choose my clouds filter. And in this case, I'll just bring it down so it's inside the same layer. I'm going to turn the sky for this one black. So I'll turn these all the way down, and then I will do a screen. Some of these layer configuration, this one that gives it sort of a blue halo, and if you're looking for that, that's okay. This one gives it sort of a purple halo. That one gives it sort of a gray edge to it, but I'm just going to use screen for this one, and then I'm going to make the clouds a little bigger, and so and then I can adjust the edges on these a little bit, and I could adjust the color of these just a little bit to give it a little bit different look. And you could continue to increase these. Maybe I'll make it just a little bit more cloudy, like that. All right. So that's the clouds function. You could also change the colors to be, not blue and white, completely different colors. I'll let you have fun with that, but let me know if you have any comments or questions, and thanks for watching.